boys and girls. Happy Friday. I don't know about you, but I am looking forward to the weekend. We are ready today for chapter 11. And when we left off yesterday, we left off at the end of chapter 10. And Georgina had finally went through with her plan. She stole the dog. She figured out where she could hide it. But now she has another problem. Now the problem is that she did not think about how she was going to feed and water the dog. Little brother, her little annoying brother, I should say, Toby, made her realize that they didn't have a plan for how they were going to feed and water this dog. So at the end of the chapter, she said, I had a lot of thinking to do. So let's see if she figures out a plan for how she's going to take care of this dog. Chapter 11. Hey y'all, Mama called out as she made her way across the parking lot toward the car. Look what I got. She stuck a styrofoam box through the window. Check this out, she said. I opened the box, scrambled eggs and pancakes. Oh, they sure did smell good. And that's not all, she said, tossing a paper bag into the back seat. Toby snatched the bag up and peered inside. Then he let out a big whoop. Donuts, he hollered. He grabbed a powdery white donut and started eating it so fast he choked, coughing out a spray of powder and crumbs. Ewy, I said, wiping off my jeans. Mama slid behind the steering wheel and examined herself in the mirror. This new job is going to be so great, she said, licking a finger and smoothing an eyebrow. The tips are really good, and I get to bring home all kinds of food to you guys. Food? Talk about good luck. Now we wouldn't have to worry about that feeding of Willie that I was worried about. I poked Toby and gave him a thumbs up. His eyebrows shot up, and he mouthed, "What?" at me. I flapped my hand at him to signal, "Never mind." But he wouldn't be quiet. He kept whispering, "What? What, Georgina?" I shook my head and pulled an invisible zipper across my lips, which meant, "Hush up. I can't tell you in front of Mama." But he was too dumb to even figure that out. "What?" he said a little louder. "What'd you say?" Mama said. I pressed my foot on top of Toby's and smiled at Mama in the rearview mirror. "Oh, nothing," I said. I settled back and ate some pancakes, which sure did taste good, even though they were all soggy with syrup. When I finished, I took out my notebook and I wrote, "Save some donuts for Willie." I pushed the notebook across the seat and poked Toby. He squinted down at my note. Then he grinned and said, "Oh, okay." "What?" Mama said. I jabbed my heel into Toby's foot and he hollered, "Ow!" Mama whirled around and snapped, "What are you two up to?" I slapped my hand over the note and smiled at her. "Nothing." "Well, don't y'all start that bickering back there," she said. "Now, let's go find us some place to park." I glared at Toby. We hadn't had that dog one whole day yet, and already he was acting all stupid around Mama. It would be a miracle if she didn't find out what we had done. But so far, it seemed like everything was working out good. I'd stolen Willie, no problem. I found a good place to keep him, no problem. And Mama had a job at a coffee shop that gave her free food, no problem. Now, all I need to do was stash some of that food in my backpack for Willie. I took out my notebook and wrote April 18th in my How to Steal a Dog notes. Then I wrote, Step 5, things to do after you have stolen the dog. Be sure to act nice around him so that he won't be afraid. Play with him some so he will like you. Make sure you put him in a safe place where he won't get wet if it rains. Tie up the rope or string so he can't run away. Find him some food and water. Uh-oh, water. I forgot about that one, but I was still pretty sure that I wasn't going to be a big problem. Still, I put a question mark around that one so that I would remember to figure it out. That night, it seemed like I hardly slept at all. A steady rain clattered on the roof and ran down the windows and the strings. The inside of the car was so hot I had to crack the window and then the rain splattered in my face and made my pillow wet. I listened to the slow, even breathing of Mama and Toby and thought about Willie. I wondered if he was scared. Was he getting wet? Was he hungry? Every time I closed my eyes, I could see his freckly face and those shiny black eyes. I could see him cock his head at me and wag his whole body the way he did. "Don't be scared, Willie," I whispered into the still night air. The car windows were so fogged up I couldn't even see outside. I used my finger to write "Willie" on the foggy glass. I drew a heart around it, then wiped the window clean and tried to turn my mind to the off setting. When I opened my eyes the next morning, I felt all fluttery and excited like I do on Christmas morning. Today was the day we would find the reward sign for Willie. Mama made us use the water in the cooler to brush our teeth. While she was putting on her lipstick and stuff in the car, I filled an empty soda bottle with water and put it in my backpack. Then I checked to make sure I had the bag of food scraps for Willie. Yep, half a donut and some leftover scrambled eggs. I pulled Toby close and whispered, "We gotta look for the reward signs today, okay?" He nodded. "Okay." I could hardly keep myself from grinning as we made our way through the streets of Derby on the way to school. I sat up straight and pressed my face against the window, searching every telephone pole we passed. Excuse me. As we got closer to school, my excitement began to fade to disappointment. I guess in my heart I'd known it was probably too soon to find any signs. We'd only stolen that dog the day before, but in my mind I had pictured signs on every pole. There they would be, up and down the streets of Derby in big letters, "Reward." Then there would be a picture of Willie cocking his cute little head and staring out at the world through his furry black eye patch. But what I saw outside the window that day was nothing like I had seen in my mind. There wasn't one single sign. None. Nowhere. I tried to swallow my disappointment and tell myself to be patient. The signs would be up after school, for sure. "Y'all go straight on back to the car after school, okay?" Mama said, pulling over to the curb. "We will," I said. "And stay there, Georgina." "We will." "And help Toby with his homework." I nodded and watched her drive away. Then I grabbed Toby's arm. "Well, Toby, did you see any signs?" I said. "Nope." Man, I stomped my foot. "Well, maybe that lady on Whitmore Road doesn't care about Willie," Toby said. I shook my head. "No way. She cares." "Who wouldn't care about a dog like that?" Toby shrugged. "Well, maybe she hasn't got any money," he said. "She owns that whole street, Toby. She's got money," I said. A school bus had pulled up and kids came pouring out, rushing toward the front door of the school. Me and Toby pushed our way through and went inside. "Listen," I said, "meet me at the flagpole right after school. We gotta take that food over to Willie. Then we can look for the reward signs. I bet they'll be up by this afternoon." Mama said we had to stay in the car," Toby said. I rolled my eyes. "She won't even know what we do. She'll be in the coffee shop." I watched Toby walk away from me as he headed toward his class. His clothes were all wrinkled and his hair was long and tangled. He was sure a pitiful sight to look at. I wondered if that was how I looked too. When Mr. White asked me for the millionth time if I had given those letters to my parents, I lied again. I said I had, but Mama and Daddy were real busy working and all. I told him my daddy was going to call him any day now. Yeah, right, I thought. That was a good one. I felt bad for lying to Mr. White. He was the nicest teacher I'd ever had. He didn't get mad when my science report had fried chicken grease on it. He hadn't said one word when I didn't have a costume for our play about the Boston Tea Party like all the other kids did. And he let me go out to the nurse's office even when he knew I wasn't one bit sick. But when he asked me about those letters, what else could I do but lie? Luann didn't hardly even talk to me all day. I was wearing the same clothes I had on yesterday, and I thought I saw her make a face when I walked into the class that morning. I thought I saw Liza poke her at recess and point at me. I thought I heard my name every time I walked by. kids giggling and whispering and everything. So who cares, I told myself. I didn't care about any of those kids anymore, maybe not even Luann. I found myself doing stuff I would have never done before when we started living in a car, stuff that I knew would make kids poke at each other and laugh at me. Like I took Melissa Gavin's half-eaten granola bar out of the trash and put it in Willie's food bag. And when Jake Sampson called me a garbage picker, I just kept my mouth shut and went on back to my desk like I didn't even care. After school, I waited at the flagpole for Toby. Then we headed off toward the old house to check on Willie. I'm wondering if he's still there. What do you guys think? Toby kept whining about how his backpack was too heavy and his feet hurt and all, but I just ignored him. I found a plastic margarine tub on the side of the road and wiped the dirt off of it with the edge of my t-shirt. We can use this for Willie's water bowl, I said, tucking it into my backpack. Toby kept saying, "Slow down," as we made our way up the gravel road. He splashed right through the muddy puddles, not even caring that his shoes were getting soaked and his legs were covered with mud. But I didn't slow down. I was dying to get to Willie. I needed to see him. I sure hoped he was okay. As soon as I rounded the corner of the house, I heard a little yip from the back porch. Then I saw Willie poke his head through the torn screen door, and my heart nearly leaped right out of me. I was so glad to see him. Right away, he started wagging his whole body like he was the happiest dog on earth. "Hey there, fella," I said, sitting on the top step of the porch and giving him a hug. He licked my face all over. "Are you hungry?" I said. Before I could even open the bag of food, he was pushing at it with his whiskery nose. "Here you go, buddy." I opened the bag and let him gobble up the eggs and stuff inside. "He sure was hungry," Toby said. I rubbed my hand down Willie's back while he ate. He was a little wet and smelled pretty bad, but he seemed okay. I opened the soda bottle of water and poured it into the margarine tub. Willie went to town lapping it up. "We gotta let him run for a little bit," I said. But what if he runs away?" Toby said. "We'll keep the leash on him, you dummy." I untied the string from the doorknob. "Come on, Willie," I said. Me and Toby took turns running up and down the road. Willie ran right through the puddles. Sometimes he'd stop and shake himself, sending sprays of muddy water all over me and Toby. Once in a while, he'd stop to take a good long drink from a puddle, but mostly he just ran and leaped and barked a happy kind of bark. We had to run real fast to keep up with him, or else he was liable to bust that string right in two. "There," I said, "that ought to be enough." Willie sat in the road in front of me, panting. He lifted his doggy eyebrows and watched me, like he was waiting for something. I knelt down and scratched his ears. "Don't worry," I said. "You're going to be going home real soon." He stopped panting and perked his ears up. Then he put his paw on my knee. "He sure is cute, ain't he, Toby?" "He sure is." I stroked Willie's paw and felt a stab inside. Was it really, really wrong to do what I was doing, or was it just a little bit wrong? I pushed Willie's paw off my knee and stood up. I had to shut those thoughts right out of my head and keep just one thought and one thought only in there. I was doing this for Mama and Toby and me, to help us have a real place to live, not a car. What was so wrong about that? We took Willie back to the porch and I tied the string around the doorknob again. "Don't worry, fella," I said. "You'll be home real soon, I promise." I filled the margarine tub with water again and set it on the porch beside Willie. "He needs a bed," Toby said. He looked at the crummy old back porch. Toby was right. The porch was damp and dirty and covered with some sticks and leaves. I should have brought a towel or something for him to lay on. I felt another stab inside. I was being mean to Willie, wasn't I? "We'll bring something the next time we come for him, okay?" I said, but then I added, "if he's still here." Toby frowned. "Why wouldn't he be here?" I sighed. It sure was tiring having to explain every darn little thing to Toby. "We'll be taking him back home, you crazy, as soon as we find that reward sign." Oh yeah. I gave Willie one last pat on the head and made my way down the rotten porch steps. I wanted to look back, but I didn't. I knew I wouldn't be able to stand the sight of that little dog watching me walk away and leave him all alone. I led the way through the bushes to the road behind us. I thought I heard Willie barking. I don't hear that, I told myself. I'm not mean, I reminded myself. This was a good idea and everything is going to turn out just fine, I repeated in my head. I guess I was hoping that if I said those things, then maybe, just maybe, they would turn out true. We're going to stop there today. Chapter 13 was chapter 11, I'm sorry, was pretty long, but a lot of things are going down. I'm anxious to see what happens. I'm very curious if someone's going to find the dog there and take it to the animal shelter, or maybe even someone will see them there with the dog and then they'll probably get into a lot of trouble. I don't know. That's just some of my predictions. What do you think is going to happen next in the story? Do you think that everything's going to turn out right? Or do you think something bad's going to happen? Let me know what your prediction is for what's going to happen next in the story. And on Thursday, we will be ready to start chapter 12. And I'm not Thursday. On Monday, we will be ready to start chapter 12. And maybe we can get 12 and 13 in that day. There are 21 chapters in this story. So hopefully next week we can get finished with this story and then we can start a new one. Those of you that have been watching, thank you so much. Don't forget that you can use this as part of your daily reading time. And I will see you on Monday with chapter 12. Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.